I do need a stream of like the the draft though.
Welcome back.
Hello. That worked.
There you
Hello,
go.
Blue Water. We didn't know how to make some, but they're hot now. We're hot and bothered and ready to go for this matchup tonight. Of course, we got the TPO Goats taking on TD Embrace. We're already inside the draft. The Malphite band away, the Anivia band away. I'm joined by Bully, being produced by none other than the wonderful Matthew. How's it going, Bully?
Yes, last week of the season, no holding back. Especially, I mean, if you're TPO Goats, unfortunately, you haven't won a series this season. So your season was over probably like 2 weeks ago. But they could play spoiler as TD Embrace is desperate for a win here to make the playoffs. They need to win, and they also need Clown Gaming to lose.
And it's not just that, right? It's also the prospect of making sure you don't finish the season having never won a series. Like, that stings a little when you play an entire season and you end up being the team that's 0-7. Like, it happens. It happens all across a lot of leagues. But to get that one win at the end of the season feels so nice for a team that, because it just shows how much you've grown as a team, especially if you get that last win. You break the losing streak, even if you don't make playoffs. It's just, to be able to say that can go a long way for the mentals of teams and just as players, right? But right now we got the Twitch band away, Jarvan band, of course. Olaf surprisingly going to get taken away, and TD's making their final ban right now before we start seeing what these picks are. I'm excited. Are you excited, Bully?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, TD needs to win, and it's gonna be I think TPO Goats is a solid team, and they brought in Caxi as a mercenary in the final few weeks. He was known to be a very good jungler. Maybe if he was playing with the team this entire season, he would have been, maybe this team would have been 3-3 at this time. But unfortunately, they're not. But having Caxi on the team does bring up the chances of TPO spoiling TD Embrace's chances this season.
Yeah, it is really on them to say, listen, our season's ending. Let us take us with it. You know when you're in solo queue and someone says, "Oh, you're in promos. I'm running into the enemy base." That's what Goats needs to do to Embrace today.
Yeah, and honestly, ooh, I like the silver pick right here. Why?
Yeah, we got to.
It's a pretty solid pick, and it's gonna try to make sure they enable the entire team. They know they can't take any major risk by picking, let's say, some aggressive ADCs or ADCs that are, feast or famine. But especially with the silver pick, you have a lot of easy wave clear. You are pretty much very safe, especially with that spell shield, and you could look for your plays in bot lane rather than getting engaged upon very easily, especially against an Alistar Maokai.
Yeah, surprisingly though, we don't see the ADC of Embrace. It looks like they're going to be waiting to see the support of Goats before they bring that out. But yeah, an Alistar Maokai. Maokai is one of those junglers that we've been seeing constantly throughout the series. We've seen it a lot heavily, that AP Maokai in the early season. Season 13 was probably the strongest jungler. Now it's more towards Jarvan, but you see Maokai brought up a lot. Sometimes it's tank, sometimes it's AP. What would you like to see it go for here, Ghost? Are you looking for an AP Maokai if you're Embrace, or are you looking for a tank Maokai?
I mean, it's gonna be. I'm gonna guess it's gonna be that like hybrid. So demonic, Embrace, and then still a tank build. But still does a lot of damage because you just get a lot of free AP with the health stacking, and you just get a lot of CC just from the inherent kit of Maokai themselves.
Now, of course, the Swain and Darius going to pick up to round out Goats' comp so far. Samira going to be the ADC for Embrace. What do you make of a Samira pick going to that Sivir and possibly Swain?
I mean, you're going melee for him against a Darius Swain. Can this work? Maybe, but it does leave yourself up for a lot of counterplay and just pretty much getting blown up before you get any damage off.
Yeah, I think that is something they're going to have to watch out for. It feels like Samira's going to have to try to stack before diving straight in, because the second she's ready to pull that ultimate, she needs to make sure she's not getting any CC up. It's not getting canceled by maybe a Darius pull or a Swain using that beautiful never move. and just getting in deep and using that ultimate. Now, of course, Sivir's Spell Shield doesn't really have much of an effect when you're against a Samira, but it is going to be hard for champions like Alistar to do a whole lot to her in lane when you're really focusing on knocking her back. To be able to get to the point where you can, it's going to be difficult, especially if that Swain's there. I think that Swain's a really good pick for just trying to peel away from Alistar and Samira, just doing the poke and just doing what you want to do, right? Clear the wave and set Samira kind of behind. Like a Sivir going even against Samira is still really good for a Sivir.
I mean, yeah, but the big thing is like, even though Sivir has a spell shield, Alistar, the headbutt pulverize, right? It doesn't really matter if the headbutt lands, because Alistar can just pulverize and it'll hit Sivir very easily, right? The spell shield will get broken from the headbutt. Pulverize will land, allowing Samira to use their passive and basically jump on the Sivir. So it's not a big deal that Sivir has a spell shield in this matchup, but what is a big deal is that keeping Samira at bay for this early game is going to be very, very important. Especially, you don't have a lot of point and click CC, right? A lot of it is a hook, or actually like 2 hooks. I think you could count Swain's E as a hook, and you can also count Kled's Q as a hook. Darius' E as a hook.
There in a row.
So, yep, it's just like you don't have like a Malzahar ultimate to suppress Samira for the entire team fight.
No, you don't. The only instant thing you really have is that pull, which you imagine Darius is going to be trying to use to open up a fight a lot of the time. So I think that is absolutely correct. That Samira has to be a priority target in team fights. But of course, the Mordekaiser picked up, the Kled picked up, like you mentioned, which is interesting to see that we might be seeing a Darius or Kled mid here. It's like they have 2 top picks in their team comp, and they're locking the Veigar, which means that might be a Darius jungle.
So, yeah, I think this is actually gonna be. Yeah, I think it's a Darius jungle. I think it's a Darius jungle. Swain support Veigar mid and Kled top. I think that's what they're looking at right there.
That's a weird comp, but at the end of the season, I'm all for it. Darius jungle. I feel like that's not something we've seen since they gave all those buffs to random champions in the jungle. And even then, Darius was like a really questionable solo queue style jungle where you're really playing for the decimates, right? It just became that really interesting dynamic where it makes sense. He's got the pull, he's got slows, he's got the extra bleed damage if they try to flash away and think they're gonna live. But at the same time, it's like it's definitely a questionable pick to bring in there.
Yeah, the final pick is actually going to be Jace. I guess they can lock it in. So Jace with the final pick, which means that we're going to see either a Jace mid or a Mordekaiser mid. But one thing to note, I did just check Caxie's OP.GG. He has played Darius jungle, not a lot in the last couple months. He played it twice. Both times were wins.
Well, that would be a 100% win rate Darius in season 13, right? So can he carry that through to this game? Of course, you know Embrace hasn't practiced against a Darius jungle. It's not like they're going into scrims and saying, you know, pull out the Darius other team because we need some scrim practice against the Darius. It's not something you can prepare for. But on the same token, how well do goats know how to play around a Darius jungle, right? Like, even if that's something you can pull out, I don't imagine you're scrimming super hard for this last game of the season if your goats are just doing it at this point for that mental to try to shut down Embrace. So it's definitely going to make for an interesting game. They scale pretty hard in comparison to Embrace, and I think if they get through this early game relatively untouched, they have a good shot at winning game 1 in the series.
Yeah, but a big thing we had to note, right? So right now we have a Maokai, Alistar, Samira, Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser can just take 1 to the Shadow Realm,
Absolutely.
and most likely going to be either Darius, possibly Swain, or Kled. But how are you going to deal, if you're a Samira, going to deal with a Darius, a Sivir, and a Veigar? The Veigar will be able to put the Event Horizon and either trap multiple members of the team or just nullify any hard engage that TD Embrace has. I don't see how, if this Veigar gets fed, if even Darius gets fed, I feel like the Samira is going to have little to no way in these team fights. It's going to be all dependent in the early game to see what can happen. If TD Embrace falls behind just a little bit, it's going to be very, very hard to climb back in this game.
Absolutely. On the same token, though, those early team fights, I think, is a lot that Embrace needs to play around. Those early Dragons, those early Heralds, rotating their support, even maybe both bot laners up to those Heralds and whatnot, to try to bring a team fight to get Samira ahead, to get Jason ahead. Samira is one of those champions where if you take the right team fight, she's coming out with a triple kill, a quadra kill even, and at that point, that Samira becomes unkillable. She's just doing so much damage. But overall, we're going to have to see what happens when we get to the Rift. The last series of the regular season before playoffs. We will see you guys on the Rift for TPO Goats versus TD Embrace. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Rift for Game 1 of the TPO Goats taking on the TD Embrace. TD need to win this series if they have any chance at getting to the playoffs today. Bully, are you ready for this match to commence?
No, but I have
Okay.
to be. But oh, I don't think we're gonna see any shenanigans. These two teams don't have what it takes. I mean, the only team that could was theoretically TPO Goats with the Swain, but obviously they don't have a ton of damage to back it up.
No, they kind of don't, especially like there are definitely some benefits though to taking a fight early for Ghosts. You can obviously get some stacks on the Swain or Veigar, which like they probably won't matter once you get 20 minutes of the game, but early stages of the game, getting that little bit of extra damage is nice on like a Veigar or a little bit of extra health onto the Swain. It can make a difference. You do see moments where somebody lives with 1 or 2 HP and then you just want to rip your eyes out.
And look at this. Do we see late invade coming in right here?
It doesn't look like it, but
Nah,
I
they're
think
just gonna
they're waiting for
cheese.
the bush cheese.
They're looking for the bush cheese, but like honestly, if you're Caxi, you smite this, you go for the fight right here.
He might. He's pathing towards that side. Here we go. Swain gonna pull out the Nevermore. He hits it on Samira, but the Darius rotating over. He's even ghosting to get to the fight. Spiritless and Gothim already took the negative end of that trade. And with Darius here, they forced the flash out of Gothim. A pretty big engagement that has gone so south for TD Embrace.
Yeah, honestly, I wish Caxi just smited that buff right there. That way he could have been there as soon as that fight started and used that ghost to stay on top of Spiritless and got him. He would have had the red buff for continuous slow, so even if they flash, they could have easily secured the first blood.
Yeah, and that first blood could have went a long way, especially if it found its way onto the Sivir or the Darius. I gotta say, I feel like TD Embrace kind of got lucky with that play, being able to just live. Like, sure, they lost the flash, but they didn't lose as much as they could have. It could have been significantly worse. And a rough opening when you know there's so much pressure on these players is never good.
Yeah, especially if you're ever going to look to make that kind of play, you need to make sure that there's no wards in that bush, because if there is, you know the enemy jungler's in that side of the map and can easily convert with that immediately.
Yeah, and it's the other thing too, when you're playing like Samira, Alistar, there's oftentimes you kind of just expect a play like that to happen. But here we go, an engagement in the mid lane. They burn the flash from Dat Holio, and top lane, Kled and Mordekaiser, they're just beefing each other hard right now. Krizzle looks like to be on the negative end of it, but once he gets Kled back,
he does have smite.
Oh,
there it is. There it is.
There's Kled. He's going in. He's under the tower. The bear trap in the room, and he's gonna secure first blood and get away with his life.
That was so close. It comes out for Krizzle with the win. The smite does secure it for him, and one big thing, Steel Fan does have the TP, but that's first blood going over to the Kled, and you know that's going to be a very volatile lane, and getting first blood is huge.
And you gotta wonder if Steel Fan brought Ignite to that fight, could it have been differently?
You don't want to bring Ignite to that. You're Mordekaiser.
That is fair to some extent, but we're taking fights so early, knowing Krizzle has that Ignite ready to go, knowing that Kled's able to really get ahead if you can't burst him down after he drops Skartle, it becomes a difficult fight. But another fight breaking out here. Caxi waiting in the bush for Steel Fan, and he's taking the one-on-one. The shield gets popped by Mord, but Caxi so far better in the trade. Never mind, Steel Fan turning it around.
Caxi's fine. He gets it.
What a decimate from Darius, regenerating half its health off that fight for the most part. And that's already 2 deaths to the top laner of TD Embrace.
Yeah, and you know, now Krizzle will be able to secure this CS, and they're just gonna push this wave just to try to deny any CS for Steel Fan.
A big cage in that mid lane, gonna do quite a bit of damage onto Rendell, get a couple more Veigar stacks. But this mid lane's been pretty quiet. Is that what you were expecting going to see this Veigar Jace matchup, or did you think that maybe Jace would have had more of an upper hand by now?
I mean, Jace does have an upper hand, but if you're a Veigar, you don't have to really do anything like super aggressive. You're just stacking. Your top side of the map is already doing well. Your bot side is staying even. You don't really need to do anything. Now it's up to Rendleman to try to make things happen, whether that is control the river or just maybe get a solo kill. But if you try to go for the solo kill, if you try to jump in, who knows? Caxi might be right behind you, just waiting to pick up the scraps and get the kill.
That's very true, and I think you need to keep good vision control of of both the top and bottom rivers if you're going to try to make a play onto that Veigar. But a play on that Veigar can end in a big way, especially like a big kill
Ooh.
on a Veigar. Even stopping the back there, it's going to slow him down. It's going to slow his stacking down and keep Cryo. You have Mordecai, not Mordecai, you have Maokai on the bottom side of the map. And the first Drake's Inferno, it could be a Drake worth playing for if they can find something onto the bot lane.
Yeah. Now Crizzle is taking a lot of damage. We'll need to back soon. You don't want to give up any major lead to a Mordekaiser. You know if Mordekaiser gets a little bit of items, he's going to start doing a ton of damage. And on this Clyde, you're already feeling it.
Oh, here's an engagement though. Alistar going in deep. Samira following up, and here comes the Maokai. Going to root up Swain. Can Swain get away? No flash, no exhaust. He goes down to Spiritless. And even Jace joining them down here. They might just want to push this wave and head up to that Inferno Drake. A big play to bring back some of the gold for TD Embrace.
Yeah, you know, you're pretty much dead as right there. And, you know, even though you got the flash, like, use your flash, you don't really get any sums. I think you just have to, you know, just take the death at that point.
Yeah, there wasn't really a whole lot of area for him to go once Nightmare Hall showed up in that lane. And burning that flash might end up biting him in the butt later on in that lane if he gets repeated gank, which you have to imagine they will. It's been very clear that Nightmare Hall is focusing towards that bot side of the map. And it kind of feels like vice versa. It feels like the Goats have been playing a lot more towards that Kled.
I mean, you see one gank up there with the Darius. It worked because it was abusing the fact that Steelfan did not have flash. I don't expect Caxi to just camp up there. I think he's just going to look for this mid. He's going to look for bot side because there's not a lot of major threat in, you know, keep on helping Grizzle, especially when you're trying to keep the Samira down.
Oh, but the Death Drone brought out, and Kled still taking the fight here. That could be really poor. He might go down, and he does. The Death's Grasp able to finish him off in the mid lane here, though. A twisted advance onto the Veigar. Jace going to pick off that Holio. Not enough damage coming under the Primordial Burst, and Caxi, not a damn thing he can do about it as Jace finds his first kill in that lane.
Yeah, and that's kind of what happens if you get a... Oh, Caxi's actually level 6 right now, and unfortunately he doesn't have flash to actually go aggressive, but it feels like Nightmare Hall has been in the right places for the most part of this game, but the unfortunate thing is his own CS is taking a taking a hit for that.
The thing is with Maokai, though, I don't think that's necessarily the worst thing. We've been seeing a very high priority, and it's starting to change with these new patches, but there's been a high priority on junglers that don't necessarily need a lot of camps just to thrive. Yes, it helps, but a champion like Maokai, where you're going for the Demonics and then maybe like a Radiant or a Jakcho, you're not necessarily sitting there trying to rush those items. You're looking to use your CC to make the plays early, and that's exactly what Nightmare Hall has done to some great effect so far in this match.
Yeah, but you know, being a part of 2 kills, we haven't seen him like great. Like we saw him gank mid, get the flash at Holio, and we saw him gank bot in mid on a few other times. But during that whole time, Caxi has ganked top and mid, so maybe one additional gank, and that additional gank has created 27 CS over the Maokai. That's a pretty significant lead for being part of 1 less kill.
That is a fair point, and to keep in mind, Caxi has been playing the counter jungling very well. We've seen both times now that Nightmare Hall has showed bot side. Caxi, if he's in that top area, he's instantly rushing to the red side of Maokai. He's taking the Raptors, he's taking the Krugs, and I wouldn't be surprised that once they show here that we're going to see the Darius run straight to that Rift Herald and try to claim that as well.
Yeah, it feels like it's a pretty easy dragon take, especially when you have the priority that you have in mid lane. The priority in bot lane with this massive wave crashing under. I don't expect to dive here at all. They could do it, but this would be like an LCS level dive. I don't see that happening.
Oh, I mean, when you're fighting for that spot in playoffs, you never know what could come out from these teams. You have to imagine Embrace have been training hard for this matchup, knowing that if they win it, they still have a chance to keep their split alive.
Yeah, right now, top lane, the CS deficit is starting to accumulate as, you know, as you're a Kled playing against Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser, you felt the damage that he could do with just barely any items. Now, picking up the tabbies, your auto tax is going to be significantly less.
Oh! That was a nice root from the Swain, rooting them both up. That's going to be 2 stacks, and a lot of damage done on the Spiritless.
Yeah, and actually, we do see Downfall have a slight item advantage. So I wouldn't be surprised if an all-out fight does happen in bot lane, but they just have to make sure that Maokai is nowhere near them.
Yeah, that's always going to be the problem for Downfall and Ghost TP. If they want to make a play on a Samira, try to set her behind, they need to be very, very careful because if that Maokai shows up, if that Samira gets more kills from that engagement, that lane could be lost very quickly. Samira snowballs quick, but here we go. A Death Realm on the Caxi. Don't know if that was necessarily the correct move, but he's looking to finish him off alone right now. Caxi doing a great job at surviving, but it's not going to last very long. A Steel Fan picks up what pretty well was a solo kill. I think he could have saved his Death Realm there, though, to be completely honest.
Yeah, he probably could. He just wanted to make sure the kill happened. But look at this. Nightmare Hall is looking to try to stop that Holio back, but you know it's gonna be a little bit too late. But now
Outside here, Crizzle knows Death Realm's down. He's looking to pick him off, but of course, the shield of Mordekaiser could keep him alive in this fight. Crizzle looking to get Scarl back up. He does find it. Steel Fan could go down. He misses Bear on the rope, but charging under the tower. Can he find it? He does find Steel. He found Steel, but he shot the wrong way, and he's gonna die to those tower shots there. It's still a shutdown, though, for the Collect.
Oh, right there. Oh, got him. Just got a lot of damage. But so far, it's slightly an even game. The one big you have to worry about now is Steel Fan. 3-3. It started off very poorly this game, but has picking up a lot of kills, and now is super close just to the allies.
Yeah, that Rylai's could. He does pick it up here. Coming back to lane, he definitely has a little bit of an advantage over Crizzle. Having that first item complete. On top of that, also having the tabbies against him. You have to imagine Steel Fan is very comfortable where he is in the matchup, despite a little bit of a rough start.
Cool. Looks like that Holio has taken a lot of damage just from that poke from the Jace. And even though we haven't seen a lot of action mid lane, it's more of Rendelman able to, you know, rotate around, helping a bot lane, helping the dragon, helping in this top river. So, of course, the priority does help. So you gotta have to expect that Holio has to ward up, try to look for a lot of defensive wards to try to protect his other lanes.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And these Shock Blasts are just doing so much damage to that Holio at the moment. But we see both Caxi and Nightmare Hall. They're looking to make a play. They're looking to impact his mid lane. Nightmare Hall gonna go in first. He's able to scramble smash him out of tower range. But that Holio, he does go down. A great pull from Darius, but is he gonna be able to find a kill? He's not. It's a 1-for-0 trade in that mid lane. A big kill from Nightmare Hall and Rendell. Very impressive seeing how hard TD Embrace are playing right now.
I just realized we've been adding an I to that Holio's name.
That Holo the dot Holio, bro.
I like that Holio a little bit more. I'll be honest.
I say we just keep it at this point.
But yeah, that's unfortunate. I think that was just a little bit. I think he was spamming his flash button, but he just dies to the last auto. And you know, it gets a welcome gift right there as Rendelman shoots a shock blast to the face.
Yeah, those shock blasts have been doing a lot of damage. Maokai, a very ballsy flash in, instantly committed to it, and it just feels like the jungle mid synergy on Embrace, they're just so on the same page this game. It feels like whenever they're taking the same fight, they're right with each other. They're very engaged with what they want to do, and that's not something you see all the time in Gold. I just think it's really impressive from Embrace this game right now. Not that Goats haven't been playing well. I feel like the top side of Goats have been playing well. Sivir, of course, doing a decent job farming, has the Kraken Slayer, is staying in time with Samira, but it does look like it's been a little bit of a difficult early game for the Goats.
Yeah, and look at the just the XP advantage. Rendelman level 11 to that Holo's level 10, and Steel Fan.
A big fight, a charge coming in. Going on to the Alistar in the backlane, though. Dat Holo getting destroyed by that Mordekaiser. The Rylai's doing so much damage. Nightmare Hall gets exhausted, is forced to go to the fight. Steel Fan deleted from the face of the rift. Samira diving in, goes down from Noxian Guillotine, and it's Caxi who's taking over this fight. Nightmare Hall is running. He cannot get away. It is only him and Render who get away as Darius picks up a triple kill. This is why they brought in Caxi.
Yeah, you know, Spiritless almost got the nuts down and was able to get maybe a multiple kills, but unfortunately, Caxi was just ready just to drop down the Noxian Guillotine, and it looks like Spiritless just lost the entire health bar in one go.
Yeah, it looked so good from Embrace. It felt like that fight was 100% in those hands, especially off those 2 early kills. But the second that Noxian Guillotine went down, you just seen them start to disappear. And that begs the question, as we get later in this game, is that going to be a reoccurring theme? Is it going to be Caxi, who is the one they're peeling for, and the second he's able to pop off, we see the Samira disappear. We see the Maokai disappear. We see the Jace disappear.
Yeah, and a big thing to note is, eventually this Veigar is going to scale to become a monster. Yes, they're an 0-3, but that doesn't mean much when you get to CS and become stronger by the minute.
Yeah, and on top of that, with all the fights that have been taking place mid, you have to imagine he's been getting a lot of stacks, right? You get stacks from the farming of the minions. He's already at 120 stacks. That's pretty good for a Veigar, especially one who's had 3 deaths. And it shows that all this fighting in the mid lane is helping him scale. He's landing those abilities. He's landing the Baleful Strikes. He's landing the Dark Matters. And it's getting him a lot of these stacks. He's going to be scaling very quickly, even if it's not off items.
And then on the other side of it, when you're Kled, your main target is not going to be that Maokai anymore, right? And these fights, it's going to be the... Oh
my god, a big root. Spiritless, though, opting to go in. Can they get the Inferno Trigger? It pops off. Downfall going to go down. And now it's just them against the Demonic Ascended Swain. Swain going to be able to walk it out, though. A very tanky Swain in that bot lane.
Yeah, the Downfall could have actually turned that around to try to get that 1-for-1, but them just running that entire time basically secured it that it was going to be a 1-for-0. At this point, Ghost TP doesn't have enough damage, but needed a little bit of help to just try to take down Spiritless, and it just wasn't there.
Oh, wait a minute here. We're looking for the headbutt. He does headbutt him against the wall. Samira going to dive in. It doesn't look like Ghost TP has any legs to stand on, and Spiritless finding another kill in that bot lane. Spiritless trying to become their own version of Darius for TD Embrace. They are putting the world on their shoulders and trying to get some early kills so that when these team fights break out again, they're able to rep that Inferno Trigger and take down Caxi as quick as he did.
Yeah, there's no reason to ever step up in that lane. Your AT just died. So as a support, you kind of just want to either sack that turret or look to just play under it. But there's no reason to be in the middle just trying to contest CS.
Caxi now going to look for some revenge kills. Got him caught in between the 2 turrets. He's gonna get pulled. He's gonna go down to the Noxian Guillotine. A little bit of a sacrifice so that Spiritless can get away with the bounty overall. But that's another kill into the Darius. The Darius is currently sitting at 5-1.
Yeah, but that's all the eggs in one basket as Caxi has 5 of the 7 kills on TPO Goats. Not just that, they have 7.8k gold, which is the most gold in the game. While the gold is a little bit more spread out for TD Embrace, they have a lot more avenues to play from. But if Caxi dies in any team fight early on, that is going to be TPO Goats' downfall.
It absolutely will. And let me ask you this, Bully. What would you do if you're on Embrace? You want this game 1 victory. How are you finding kills on Caxi? What are you trying to do?
I mean, at this point, you have the damage. The only thing is, if you're Steel fan, you can't take Caxi in a 1v1, especially because you're just gonna end up dying and getting full stacks on this Darius. So, if you're if you're on this Alistar, you need to make sure that Caxi cannot get on top of Spiritless. Rendleman, they have a lot of damage to try to burst down Caxi, but it's all about doing it without the intervention of the entire TPO Goat squad.
I think what could be interesting maybe, though, on the same note, is maybe picking up a stopwatch on Steel Fan, alting Darius, and just waiting out the clock by going golden. You'll have the advantage of having that Samira who's able to stock Inferno Charge while he's in there, and it could win you a team fight. But right now, a team fight taking place. A charge in, misses the bear trap on the rope, and it looks like TD Embrace, they're hesitant on the engage, not going right for it. They're letting Rendell just throw those shock blasts in, poke out that Holio. It's a big fight over this Rift Herald that's up in a minute, but also Ocean Dragon on the bottoms of the map.
No, that's the dragon that's up in a minute. That Rift Herald was already taken, so my bad. They kind of fought after the Rift Herald was taken, and now this dragon's coming up, and now you don't have the charge, and it was kind of like, why would you fight that at that point? There's no reason to. You can just set up for the other objective.
Oh, but oh my god, a big pull under that tower. Steelfan taking a lot of turret shots. Caxi ready to go in. A flash in from Crystal, but he's not going to find Steelfan. Demonic Ascension is going to go out. There goes Crystal. On the same token, the Samira gets shut down by Caxi. He's popping off. That's 2 Demoxian guillotines. That's 3 as Steelfan goes down. The Samira finds a double as well, and it's only Rendell standing for TD Embrace, and that's going to be a free dragon for the Ghosts.
Yeah, Caxi was left standing. He was so low and was almost taken down, but unfortunately, no one was able to deliver the finishing blow. And now this dragon will be going to TPO Goats. There shouldn't be anything there to actually stop him from taking it.
Yeah, of course, with Maokai up, they have the smite advantage. And Caxi was so close to going down in that fight. And it kind of brings the question. We're seeing him heal up so much in fights. Why have they lacked putting any of their gold into maybe a Bramble's Vest? maybe a chem punk, right? There's any type of 800 gold that can go into knocking down the heal cut of Darius. I think it can go a long way right now for TD Embrace.
Yeah, I mean, it does. And then you also have the Swain, right? It heals just a smidge. But it doesn't have to conquer, so it's not a big deal. I think they're just trying to opt for some of these tank items, some of these a little bit more damage heavy items. Because right now it's easier to just like 100 0 Caxi than try to look for a big skirmish with them where the heal cut will actually come into play. But it does come into factor of that fight was actually looking pretty good. We saw that Nature's Grasp hit a lot of members of the team. There's a lot of CC thrown, but we saw the Veigar, their own Event Horizon, along with the Everfrost, just kept everyone in place for so long, allowing Downfall, Ghost TP, and Caxi just to basically attack for free.
And it's like you mentioned, that Event Horizon goes a long way in stopping that Samira from being able to dive in and use the Inferno trigger on who she wants to go for. That Event Horizon really stops her from transversing the rift in those fights. And it feels like right when they're about to get going is when Caxi's coming online and just knocking them all down.
Yeah, but uh-oh. Oh, there we go. You got to be a little bit careful there because that Maokai is still pretty strong.
He is just trying to stack right now. A lot of baleful strikes going. Dark Matters flying at a Steel Fan, but nothing going to really happen. Especially considering he has Jack Show right now. He's down to sit there for a while and just tank. But the more he tanks, the more stacks that Veigar is getting.
Yeah, and actually, there the Veigar was actually able to hold the control ward in that area. Maokai wasn't able to take it, so that's a small win.
That's a small one. Of course, if you're in the LCS, the crowd's going wild when you're defending that control ward. Although,
Now,
over here, it's a well-placed control ward, right? It's right in front of that red site. It sets up nicely for getting you some Dragon Vision, but it does look like Gothim is going to go take it down now that the Veigar has backed.
yeah, as we approach 22 and a half minutes, looks like only about 300 gold lead for TD Embrace, but we've seen how these team fights can go one direction or the other, and so far in these major team fights, it's been all TPO goats. But in these small skirmishes, TD Embrace has gone the upside on them.
The thing is, we talked about in Giraffe that being even is really a net positive for the GOATs. They got champions like Veigar. They got champions like Sivir. They got champions like Swain who are down to scale into this late game. They're down for this game to go 35, 45 minutes and just be unstoppable forces.
But yeah, I can see this happening, especially because, you know, if Caxi starts getting shut down, we're going to have to see the Veigar, the Sivir, both kind of like emerge as the carry champions, because you can't just rely on the Darius the entire game. Maybe you can, but I don't think you will be able to.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. As you get into the game, like, Darius is one of those champions who can always be in a position where they feel strong. But as you scale alongside the Darius, he gets a lot less scary. However, that's why you have the Veigar. That's why you have the Sivir. When Veigar's gonna be ending up with 1,000 AP later in the game, you no longer have to rely on Caxi, because one baleful strike from Veigar, half their health is gone, and then he can just pop off with a Noxian Guillotine.
Yeah, and just to note, it looks like Caxi is going for that Death's Dance for their third item, which makes it even harder to kill him. But, you know, if you are the Samira, or the Maokai, or yeah, basically Samira Maokai, basically have to look to target and get kills on these squishy members before you, and not get caught by Caxi. Because if you start targeting Caxi, we saw in this previous team fight, is everyone else is able to play the game, and you don't want that to happen.
Yeah, and that's why I think getting a stopwatch on that Mordekaiser could be really crucial. You put him in Death Realm, you stopwatch, and then you clean up the fight from there. Then you can deal with him once members go down. But the problem is, it feels like the team of GOATs, they're just waiting for Kled to charge in. They're letting Darius stack, and they're just using Swain and Kled in that front line to block the entirety of Embrace from being able to embrace Darius, Veigar, and Sivir.
Yeah, 4 dragons coming up. Right now, TD Embrace has control of the Dragon Pit, and 30 seconds for the Ocean Dragon.
Oh my God.
And it's not a big factor of them trying to contest it. They might actually look for the Baron.
They're looking to trade it. This could be a huge trade for them. It's going to give them an additional 1,500 gold. They'll
going
be
for it.
even on dragons, And it looks like TD and Brace have realized what is going on. They're opting to rotate over to the Baron. They might catch out Krizzle here. There's a big rotation to this mid lane. We could see a fight waiting to break out. Veigar going to be the last to rotate over. They drop the Baron as people... Oh my god. A misclick from Krizzle. There goes the flash of Kled. That could be a huge blunder in this game.
Yeah, and right there, it felt like, you know, Caxi felt the pressure of what was happening. Krizzle was actually leading the entire team of TD Embrace to that Baron pit, so I don't think that was a play. They showed mid. Maybe if they were able to charge down or away from the Baron, that Baron was going to be secured, but fortunately it did not happen.
Now that dragon being deleted instantly. TD Embrace going to claim the second dragon for free here, and no engagement going to happen. Actually charging away from them. The only one opting to go in here is that Julio, who's going to lose his flash. He might lose his life as the Twisted Advance comes on, knocks him straight into Jace, and Jace just waiting for him. There goes that Holo, and it's a big fight for TD Embrace. They're on the winning side this time. Headbutt going the wrong way, but there is Samira to clean it up. It's 2 kills for TD Embrace as they start walking towards that Baron. Can they claim both objectives here? If they can, it's a huge opening for them to maybe take game 1 of this series.
Yeah, but look out the health bars. They're actually pretty low, and you still have Caxi, Downfall, and Ghost TP alive. With the Baron shred from the armor and MR, it's going to be a very big 50-50, especially if we know how good Caxi is a jungler.
But Caxi realizes the blast cone's not there. He has no flash. He has to directly enter the pit if he's going to go for it, and he can't. It's already gone. That's a free Baron for TD Embrace, and now Caxi forced to use the Ghost to get away from the 5 members with Baron. They now have to endure a huge Baron push from TD Embrace.
And, you know, that all started, it looks like Krizzle was pressing charge and is effectively separating their own team. And then TD Embraces decides to look at them. It's like, wait a minute. We could pick off TPO one by one, and that's exactly what they did. First went Veigar, and then went Krizzle. It just felt a little bit off of a team fight. They were contesting a dragon that wasn't going to be contestable, especially because the pit wasn't theirs to take back.
And it's so hard walking into a pit against champions like Maokai, who have so much utility to stop you from walking in. You got the Nature's Grasp, you got the Twisted Advance, and yeah, they need to be in that Dragon Pit, but just to send out a Nature's Grasp while you finish it, stun them up, and then leave. It's so hard to walk there. You need to be at the objective first if you're going to take it, and if you're not there, you kind of have to drop it and find something else to do.
Yeah, especially knowing that it was like a 50-50 game. Maybe if you're stronger, you know you can take the fight by just walking in blind, but still that's not advisable, as you could just get bombarded by 5 ultimates and just die immediately.
All right, now they're trying to fend off this Baron. They did lose that T1 top turret, but they haven't lost a whole lot yet. The Sivert doing a great job at wave clearing alongside that Veigar, and with most of TD just pushing that mid wave, they don't have a lot of venues that they have to defend. They're kind of content with saying, okay, just keep coming at us in this mid wave, we'll keep clearing your wave, getting the gold, and continuing to try to scale up. We do still have Caxi. Caxi is 6-1. That Death Dance is completed. I'm sure he's raring to take a fight, but I think they're also content to just wait and just keep the stacking going. But oh my god, the damage from Shock Blast there as they start rotating towards this mid turret.
I mean, that's a 3-item Jace, and looks like we're gonna have a fight, especially with the charge enabled.
Oh, they forced the flash out of Nightmare Hall, and that TP coming in. And Steel Fan kind of having to walk away. The Mnemonic Ascension used. Krizzle caught, loses Scarl as a very poor Veigar ultimate, not doing a whole lot of damage with the Steel Fan. And it's just an even fight in that mid lane, but it feels like a lot of ultimates were used from Goats here.
Yeah, not a lot of ways to get back in, and that Holo will take a lot of damage from the Shock Blast yet again. And yes, it looked like a kind of a desperation play at that point, and it wasn't a fully thought out plan. It was just a straight up fight front to back, and didn't work out.
That inhib turret gonna fall, followed by the inhib. It's the first inhib of the game, and the entire mid lane untouched by Goats, but fully destroyed by Embrace. It is a beautiful lane to be able to take control of, and it feels like there's a little bit of map dominance starting to show ever since that objective play went so right for the Goats.
Oh!
Caxi, though, they're looking. They force the flash into Rendell. Can Caxi find the grab? He's looking to apprehend him.
There it is.
He does. He catches him, and he is going off. He's going to be using that knocked-in guillotine. Doesn't even have to. The shutdown goes to Sivir. Arguably an even better person to get the shutdown on, and he's running away. But he's not going to get very far either, as another kill is brought over to Caxi. That's a 7, 1, and 3 Darius, and on the opposite side, a 3, 1, and 7 Sivir.
Yeah, I honestly think Rendleman was gonna get that back off. The Baron backs still were in play, and he was like in the last half second, and he decides to cut it and try to run away. And you're not gonna run away from a Darius that has Ghost.
And we look at these gold charts, and you see who has all the gold. Jace, surprisingly, has the most gold out of anybody on Embrace, followed by the Samira, followed by Mordekaiser. On the other side, there's only 2 clear targets who have a lot of money in the wallet, and that is Caxi and Downfall. They are starting to be the signs of life in GOAT. Sure, they don't have the inhib, but what they do have are 2 strong members who are ready to take a fight. And the gold gap, even after losing all those turrets, it's only 1.5k. Honestly, that's kind of nothing. That's half an item. 2 components.
Yeah, and if you're TPO right now, you know you don't have that TP on Kled. So if you take a fight, it's a very big possibility that you're gonna have a TP from Rendleman to try to match or actually create an odd man fight in favor of TD Embrace. So you have to be very careful.
And Kled rotating there first, like you said, but Jace going to use TP, get there earlier. They're still waiting for that Kled to show up, but he's on his way. The question is, will he be caught by Embrace? They're following him. He knows he has to go through that mid lane. And it's some very good pathing from Crizzle, but it feels like Embrace might be a little split going into this fight. They got 4 members on the bot side of the river. Kled charging in for his life, and they're split on Embrace. Team trying to keep them off while... oh my god, Crizzle absolutely deleted from that Jace. The Demonic Ascension is in the middle of all of them. However, Ghost TP absolutely deleted. Nightmare Hall gonna go down, but Caxi can't find the Noxian Guillotine. He goes down. It's just Veigar and Downfall. It's gonna be just Downfall. But can he get away? He's inside the Death Realm. He doesn't. It's an ace for TD Embrace.
Yeah, and that was kind of like a spread out fight, which it wasn't very well planned. You saw Crizzle going basically for a flank, but just get absolutely one shot, and it was basically an effective 4v5 from then on.
Yeah, it really felt like they were apart. A great pulverized and headbutt from Alistar, just kind of keeping the 4 members of GOATs on that bottom side of the river. They dealt with Kled, chunked him from 100 to 0, and then they took the fight. And then they went on the Sivir. And after that, they also had the Mordekaiser take the Sivir out of the fight with a Death Realm. So really, it was a 3v4. They lost one of their strongest members and were able to just take Caxi from 100 to 0.
Yeah, man, and I think that's all she wrote, right? It felt like the game was going to be over right there, but it looks like we still have some games to play. It's going to have to take a lot of effort from TPO to set up a fight that they want to take. It felt like the last few fights, it was kind of a desperation play.
It very much did. And now with this Baron up, you can only imagine another desperation play is going to come out of them. Losing this Baron very well could be that loss of the match that you were speaking of. There's 4,000, almost 5,000 gold between these 2 teams. Sure, they're scaling, but now they've kind of put themselves in so much debt that it might not matter anymore. I don't know if they can get to that point. This Baron is really going to determine it, but they all died trying to stop this Baron. It's still game over. If they lose this Baron, it very well could be game over. So what's the play from GOATs here?
Well, right here is actually kind of a good play that they can make, is try to, fight at this Baron, because that's a fight that they can't take, because everyone's grouped together, and then the Event Horizon should be doing wonders in these kinds of
Caxi might look to steal. Can he get it? Can Caxi be the GOAT? He doesn't find the steal, and he's going to lose his life. And now his team are by themselves without that 7-kill Darius to help them defend. And Ghost TP might be caught out. He is slowed. He doesn't go down, but it looks like 4 members rotating mid, 5 members rotating mid. They're just looking to end. They're not going to those side waves. They're pushing this mid wave at Baron while Caxi's down in such a large timer and looking to put this game to bed. Can they find what they're looking for? They have 30 seconds before Caxi's up to make a pick or just end the game. Only 1 tower left defending that Nexus. Is it going to mean anything?
Probably not. That's probably much game right there, as, it felt like a very close game for the...
Wait, the inhib.
That won't do anything.
The inhib gives time for Caxi to spawn. It will give them a chance to at least have a final stand as a 5-man team. It could potentially be
looks like we are going to look for a little bit longer.
They're going for that bot T3. They're trying to take it pretty quickly. A good Event Horizon from Veigar, although it's just going to stun them. No damage actually put onto the targets. Then Nature's Grasp going inwards as it roots 4 members of the team. Dat Holo in a rough spot, but Caxi finds the Maokai. Veigar goes down. It's a 3v4 left here. Darius, though, he's about to pop off if he can fight it. He's done forever, though. He goes down, and that is TD Embrace taking game 1 and en route to possibly securing a playoff spot.
Yeah, and you can't rely on the Darius to carry you, and he carried for the most of the game, and then you have to rely on your actual carries to do so. But it felt like the Vanguard never came, and became a big factor in the game. Downfall was actually able to even up the CS difference that was happening in the bot lane, but then again, it kind of came down to the bad team fights that were taken for the most of the second half of this game, especially around these major objectives.
And I think you can pinpoint the moment that TPO Goats lost control of the game, and it was trying to trade that Baron for Dragon before the Dragon was spawned, before the Dragon was even really that close to spawning. It was still roughly a minute away when they went for that play, and ultimately they lost so much gold in the negative part of that fight. They lost both objectives, and from there it felt like they just kept doing desperation play after desperation play. They kind of forgot what their team wanted to do. They kind of stopped saying, okay, we're still close in gold, and maybe they didn't realize how close to gold they really were, but it felt like they stopped realizing, yeah, okay, we still need Vanguard to get more stacks. We need that Rabadons online. We need to still be getting these items on the Sivir and just trying to delay. They did a great job at defending the Baron, but after that, it was just desperation play after desperation play after desperation play onto objectives that didn't matter in the long run. It's not like we've seen an Ocean Soul.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I would believe that third dragon, you could easily just give that up. Actually, it wasn't a third, it was like the fifth total dragon. You could give that up, look for a better fight later on, but they kind of felt like they needed to. They were looking for that Baron play, which almost worked. It just got sniffed out by TD Embrace. And of course, that's basically when the turning point happened. It felt like TD Embrace kind of took ownership of the game and just never let go of the pedal.
Yeah, I think that was very much the case. But with that, we are going to go to... Oh, actually, it looks like we are already getting the draft link. So we might just be going to head over to this next draft in a few seconds. Let me ask you real quickly, what do you want to see changed between the drafts of these two teams before we get into it?
I think it's mostly like I'm not mad about any kind of draft. Yes, the Darius kind of was like, wait, that was out of left field, but obviously worked out. But it kind of felt like just the decision making in that game wasn't there for TPO Goats, while TD Embrace kind of felt more cohesive in their overall communication. That might be because, Caxi kind of joined the team a few weeks ago. But for TPO to Ghost to win, they need to make sure they have clear comms on what they want to do, what kind of fights they want to take, and how to play each fight before they basically start the fight.
Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and go over to the draft and see what might potentially be the last game of active season. If Embrace wins, they have that solid chance of going to the playoffs. So let's go ahead and swap over to the draft and see what's going to happen. We, of course, have Embrace on the blue side, Goats on the red side. There is a side selection switch here. The question is, what's going to be changed? Do we see Goats maybe play an earlier sided comp? Are they going to take more fights? Or are we going to see a scaling comp again and try to execute that to its fullest? What would you like to see changed about like the Goats, like the structure of their team overall?
Man, I have no idea. But I did enjoy that first game. I like the, odds picks.
What was nice, it was very close. It was a neck and neck game. A lot was happening across the map. The gold stayed very, very neck and neck for a large portion of that game. So to see games go that close, especially so close to the end of the season, it makes you wonder a couple of things. One, how much has Goats improved? Two, if Goats are able to stay this close to Embrace, what would it mean if Embrace go to playoffs? Is this group actually more close than it potentially feels from bottom to mid? Or are Embrace kind of in a situation where it's going to be a lot more practice needed before going into that next week of playoffs?
Well, they still need to win this week, so
They do. That is still something.
Gotta calm down just a little bit.
If they lose these next two games, they have no shot. The losing streak ends for Goats, and they don't make playoffs. And I believe they also need Clown Gaming Spartans to lose their match today, correct?
Clown Gaming,
Story?
IT, like it. Like the clown? The clown it?
Oh, like it.
Like
Like
yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Clown Gaming it.
like
Okay. My
like
bad.
like like really crazy movie slash book. Actually,
Yeah,
more of a book than the movie, but yeah,
the one where like the children do that like circle and like they
just
all become
clowns
like
and
blood
yeah,
brothers and sisters, and there's that clown who
it
like
was the balloon stuff. Yeah.
yeah, draft is now starting. Uh, that was a good movie, but Anivia banned away from Embrace. Goats taking out the Rock Monster. Malphite gonna be taken away as well. So far, no Darius ban. Zaya gonna go away from Embrace. They're gonna counter with the Twitch ban potentially. They're hovering it right now. 2 bans left to go. They're banning a lot quicker than game 1 here. Dr. Mundo, surprisingly, gonna be taken away from Embrace. And that means, Goats, the final ban of this first round of the banning phase, and potentially the last first round of banning phase, if Embrace can pick up that victory, is going to be... Give me a drum roll, bully.
Uh,
Close enough. I'll take the
yeah.
It's gonna be Jarvan. Not much of a surprise there. Jarvan being a really highly contested jungler, of course, as we move later into the season. And I imagine into the playoffs, unless after MSI they do nerf him, it's most likely going to be like a very Jarvan contested playoff series here in BOL. But Maokai can be the first pick. How do you feel about a Maokai first pick once again from Embrace?
I mean, it worked out last game. You saw it created so much just space. Just having the ult with the Nature's Grass, having just point and click CC into your kit, and you know you become like a mega tank later in the game. So it definitely works well, and I know Caxi does play Maokai quite a bit, so it's also a takeaway.
Yeah,
Or you used to.
And I think that's a fair point. Being able to use that as kind of a ban in a way, like kind of to stop Caxi from playing that can work. I'd be interested to see what would happen if Caxi was on a champion like Maokai though, because he felt like he was at every play, but it also felt like he was the only one getting the kills from it, and it kind of made it so that the map was regarded around him. But Zeri going to be picked up from Ghost, another champion a lot like the Sivert, and I don't know how I feel about it, because I feel like Maokai's one of those champions who can get on Zeri, and if Zeri gets stunned, she's hurt in a big way. It's going to be paired with that Morgana, though. I think that's a very good pairing to put with the Zeri, considering what we see so far.
Yeah, you got the spell shield. So if we see him overstepped by a Maokai trying to get on top of the Zeri and be kind of out of position, the Morgana spell shield should help Zeri out quite significantly and able to help Zeri peel for herself and then probably kill the Maokai.
Now a Jinx going to be picked up from Embrace. Definitely a little bit stronger in laning phase than the Zeri for the most part, but not too much. It's not like we're seeing an early game Samira again. This time it's much more focused around kind of getting that scaling up until you can get those team fights going, right? Until you can find that pop-off kill and get excited. Go in, do a lot of group damage. I do think Jinx and Maokai can be a decent combo together, but I'm not necessarily sure how I feel about that until we see what support Embrace is going to be rocking with. And it looks like it's going to be that Milio. Now, of course, Milio was disabled very recently in Blue Water League. What do you make of a Milio Jinx bot lane?
So Milio started becoming enabled for gold specifically last week. So I didn't see how many Milios were played, but I think the champion itself is very strong. I'm curious to see how. Obviously, not a lot of people have a lot of practice with them, so there's still a lot of learning potential and a lot of places where we can make misjudgments and maybe throw a fight here and there.
Yeah, on the same token though, fighting against Emilio is still something that people are getting the learning curve to. Still trying to find out the best ways to play into that Milio. And although it's been getting a lot better, the level of play against Milios, he's still kind of a disgusting champion. He's still that new release that Riot are pushing to make very strong. And he still feels, although a lot more balanced than when he came out, one of the stronger supports. Now, of course, Mordekaiser was going to be the last pick for Goats in that first round. It was followed up by an Olaf and Ornn ban, as well as a Vi and Viego ban from Embrace. So to see what they're going to pick into that Mordekaiser and line potentially into that mid lane, it's going to be interesting. Wait a minute. That's a Morg mid Senna support. Another interesting switch up to the comp of Goats. You don't see Morg mid too often. I've seen it a couple times in this last patch. But Morgana, traditionally, that support, we've seen it in the past flex in the jungle and mid. But I guess that could also be a Morg jungle if they really wanted to go down that
That's
route.
true.
I don't imagine so, but it's possible.
It's possible. But definitely, we're gonna see this. I think we're gonna see the Zeri send a bot lane. I would imagine any of those champions go anywhere else. Actually, it could be a Zeri mid, but
I don't
I don't think
want
it
to
will.
see Morg Senapod. I
Yeah.
really, that's a little bit too extra. I'd rather see a Morg jungle than a Morg Senapod.
We're gonna see. We're gonna see Ziggs Morgana mid. Talk about a snooze fest. No,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
gonna be
kidding.
boring.
It's
No,
gonna
no,
be
that is tragic, bro. But on the bright side, top side, Scion Mordekaiser.
that we think. It could be a
Uh,
Mordekaiser jungle.
could be a Mordekaiser jungle. That is true. It's not though. It's a Hecarim jungle, which means that Morgana is going mid. Unless they swap it last second here on me, they don't. It is going to be that Hecarim jungle. What do you make of these two teams?
Well, definitely for a Sion playing against Mordekaiser, it's very difficult. Like, just the inherent damage that Mordekaiser does, especially after the rallies and if they decide to go Jack Show or Riftmaker, it doesn't matter. They'll still do a ton of damage. Now we're gonna see Caxi play a little bit more of like an aggressive engage type jungle with the Hecarim, and this is gonna fare very well, especially because they're against a Jinx Ziggs, both two champions that don't have a lot of mobility in their own kit. Um, so I would expect, just in general, that if Sion or Maokai gets taken out of the fight by this Mordekaiser, it's gonna create that avenue for everyone else to kind of converge on these squishy targets.
It very well could, but I'm gonna be straight up. If I had to choose like a team who I think drafted a little bit better this game, I gotta go with Embrace. Just for the sake of, I feel like Maokai's so damning into Zeri and Hecarim, and on top of that, I think like Goats is a comp once again where they're relying a lot on scaling, and I feel like if they fall behind, we might see a lot more desperation plays like we seen last game, especially knowing that this could very well be their last game of the series if they lose. There's so much pressure on both these teams, both to win, that I'm kind of worried going into this match for Goats. Now, of course, if they can find it into the 30-35 minute mark, I think they have a good chance. If they can find some good team fights with that Zeri, especially if you can find that Mordekaiser to ult onto that Maokai, there's a good chance. But it's definitely difficult. It's even difficult for Mordekaiser to ult Maokai sometimes, especially with that W making him unstoppable. You can break that ultimate.
Yeah, so I think one of the problems that TPO Goats had in the first game, in terms of these desperation fights, it was mostly engaged by the Kled, right?
Hmm.
But now we see the engage coming from the Hecarim, and we saw in the first game that Caxi really couldn't get into this fight, even though they were crazy fed. In this game, they could find all all the avenues they want to go in because they have a ton of utility. If they get fed, they'll be able to do a lot of damage already to one of these squishy targets without needing the help of anybody else. And if they have the spell shield on them, then they should be able to get in, get out real quick.
Well, we'll have to see if your theory of Caxi dominance can be correct. If Goats can hang on and bring us to a Game 3 series to close out the gold season, or if Embrace can find a win and potentially make it into that playoffs, we're going to see you guys in a Rift very shortly after the spectator delay. Don't go anywhere. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Rift. Currently, TD Embrace up one. They are on the blue side, taking on TP Goats, who are at a score of 0 on the red side. TPO Goats fighting to keep their split alive for one more game, and Embrace fighting to potentially obtain that last playoff spot in this group. I'm once again joined by Bully, being produced by Matt. Bully, are you ready for what could potentially be the final game of the Gold regular season?
Oh, 100%. Well, actually, for one or both of these teams. Well, no, actually for one of these teams, because obviously if TD Embrace wins this game, they're in and they'll play more. If TPO Goats win, then there's another game to be played.
Yeah, realistically, TPO Goats are fighting for something important, though, and that's to break the losing streak that has gone on all season. 0-6 in series, but after last game, we've seen some hope of breaking that series loss streak.
Yeah, and I expect this to be actually a pretty close game as well. I don't see any team winning in like 20 minutes, unless it's a total stomp. But after last game, I don't think that's gonna happen.
No, I have to agree. After the last game, it was very, very close until it wasn't. But I think you have to imagine they know what happened last game. They know the mistakes that are made. They picked a somewhat similar comp, and I can only imagine they're going to try to fix that and find a way to really be impactful. And to be fair, their team can take a little bit of earlier fights with that Morgana mid instead of a Veigar. And the thing is, it does feel like this team is very centered around that Zerion setup. And if that Zeri setup fall behind like they did last game, it could be difficult.
Yeah. The good thing is, I think at top side, it's a little bit easier to play this matchup. Besides playing like a Kled versus Mordekaiser, now you're the Mordekaiser against a Scion. Scion doesn't have any kill pressure basically, unless you pretty much into them. But
Well, right now there is a lot of kill pressure going on as Krizzle and Steelfan, they're going head-to-head, and Krizzle, he flashes in, he's under tower, and speaking of potentially hitting them, 2 flashes burned, a first blood from Mordekaiser. He does.
I almost just ate my words right there. I saw that happen, I was like, oh no, but
it was close.
Still, a 1-for-1 is not beneficial at all, especially because this is still, actually it's going to slightly push to you, so it's fine, but you're Mordekaiser against a Scion. You don't really need to take a 1-for-1 at all at any point.
It is first blood, though. It is a little bit more gold with it opening the match. And what it really does is, as the Joker says, it's not about the money. It's about sending a message.
The good thing
the
is...
message is sent.
Oh, the good thing is, like, the wave was pushing towards Krizzle, so that's a benefit there. And oh, we're doing it again.
Only this time, no flashes, and Hecarim is in the region for the Mordekaiser. He's sneaking into one of those top bushes as we speak.
Oh,
I don't think Science seen him enter in. There's a good chance
he was
could
seen.
Find it. Nah, he was. It looks like it with the way. What? He's walking back up. The ghost is activated. He's gonna charge him.
Oh,
in. Oh my God!
Krizzle used the Death's Grasp a little bit too early, thinking that Caxi was gonna push it directly into that spot. But you know, you could wait just a little bit longer, especially because you know Steelfan doesn't have flash, so you could be more kind of greedy with it to make sure it hits. And unfortunately, they were thrown at the exact same time.
It was almost perfectly played too. But here it comes out again. They're looking to fight Steelfan under Steelfan's tower. And it feels like Krizzle is just trying to bully Steelfan as much as he can to get himself ahead.
As he should. I mean, you're a Mordekaiser. You can do a lot of work in this top lane. But for that gank top, nothing was really gained, and a lot of things were lost, especially that ghost from Caxi. Not having that kind of sucks.
Yeah, it is a little bit more difficult, but Ghost, one of those summer spells you can kind of use to your leisure, right? It is up a little bit quicker than Ghost, and you're playing Hecarim jungle. You still have ways of getting out of fights if worse comes to worse. You're a very fast champion.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good defending by the bot lane and the mid lane of TPO Ghost. Just
Wait
to
a minute,
protect
another
the spot.
fight? No. It looked like he might have went in there. He had just burnt the Nature's Grasp, but not going to fully commit to that fight under turn again. We did see what happened last time, in fairness.
Yeah. I'm just waiting until these these flashes are up.
Yeah, I have to imagine when those flashes are up, it is going to be another bloodbath in the top lane. But right now, that Mountain Drake, the first dragon on the map, is currently up We could see these two teams play for it. Would you want to see any of these teams prioritize that early Mountain Drake?
Not unless they have a good opportunity to do so. You don't want to be the first one to start it, just trying to sneak it or something like that, because if you're caught in that pit, it could result in just your free death and also leashing the dragon for the other team.
On the same token, though, it does feel like Goats right now have a lot of pressure onto that bot side. Sorry, other way around. Embrace is a lot of pressure onto that bot side.
Yeah.
Spiritless and Gotheem, they are just firmly in control. They're pushing those waves. They're getting that back. There is a chance that maybe if they can force that Zeri and Senator back now with the additional items, they could bring over Nightmare Hall and maybe focus that first Drake relatively uncontested.
Oh, now we're going to see Steelfan actually use that Unstoppable Onslaught to get back in this top lane. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get that cannon, but was there for the XP. In this mid lane, that Holo will need to take it back. Probably will TP back the mid lane, as we're going to see, both these mid laners just trade blows and just CS until their heart's desire.
Yeah, and I don't think that's going to change much, but I do think that kind of benefits the Ziggs a little bit more. I could be wrong in saying that. I'm not, admittedly not super well versed in mid, but it feels like a Ziggs is going to scale a lot harder than that Morgana as we get later into this game. And especially considering he's had a push for a lot of this, if he's able to get those early tower plating, he might be able to find an early first turret for Embrace.
Yeah, and top side, and look at that, the flashes are almost up, and we're going to still see more fighting. Like I said, in this Dragon Pit, both teams are actually pretty scared to do stuff, and that will actually land for that route, but Caxi does not have...
Oh, wait, Dot Holio going all the way in. He was using, of course, the Soul Shackles. I don't think it connected, though, but in the bot lane, a big fight breaking out. And it looks like Ghost TP could go down. Ghost TP barely getting out. He doesn't actually. Spirit finds him, but here comes the onslaught of shadows as Caxi dives in. Are they going to be able to find Nightmare Hall? It doesn't look like it. It looks like Nightmare Hall's going to get away, and that's a 1-for-0 trade for TD Embrace.
Yeah, and, a kill was almost picked up right there, but unfortunately, looks like Ghost TP went down a little bit early. It wasn't delayed enough for Caxi to show up and try to turn that.
Steelfan with a big knock-up on Crizzle. Crizzle walking away. Oh my god, that was close.
Alright, this is super close. But if Steelfan finds a kill right here, it will spell doom for this top side. It's, you expect this Mordekaiser to do work up here, but
Crizzle forced under his tower, the bot side. You can see Spiritless heavily playing to try to get another kill done there. Really using those Berserker Greaves to just sling as many rockets as they can at downfall.
Yeah, he does have a flash as well, so Steelfan could possibly... Oh!
Crizzle pulled into the tower, doesn't take any tower shots. A flash through, avoid the knockup. Steelfan trying to flash away, but it's too late. The pathing as well, a little bit poor. And I don't think Steelfan's going to find anything with this Afterlife, as Crizzle picks up a beautiful kill and even really outplayed that fight.
Yeah, that was a good flash by him, just making sure that he doesn't get hit by the fully charged Q from the Scion. But yeah, Crizzle was able to pick up the kill. The CS is still even, so not as big of a lead that you think the Mordekaiser would have, but at least a kill lead will go into their favor.
Yeah, and I think the kill lead in their favor, it's definitely nice if you're on the side of Goats. And it feels like we're starting to see that champion that might be this team's version of the Darius that we seen last game, right? It feels like that the Mordekaiser are starting to pull away. They're getting very close to that Riftmaker. And once they get that Riftmaker, that matchup gets a lot easier for them.
Yeah, and in this game, Caxi hasn't really been able to do a lot. He was slightly behind on that bot lane gank. Wasn't able to pick up the kill. And top lane, that little misfortune of the play onto Steelfan. So we haven't seen that raid boss Darius that we saw in the first game, but I do expect him to continue looking for these kills in the bot side, especially because we saw what happened in the first game. Downfall was behind for most of the game, wasn't able to do much until very late, but by then it was too late.
However, the one thing that is still impressive about Caxi right now is he's keeping good tempo. He's out farming the Mordekaiser, and although Mordekaiser's gank did work out, it does feel like Caxi's applying more pressure. However, right now, Maokai in the right place at the right time. He is taking that dragon, and I think Caxi has realized this and might be looking on that Herald right now, trying to trade objectives, but did he start it too late? We'll have to find out here as the Mountain Dragon is claimed.
Yeah, you're gonna expect like the spot side is it's still heavily favored for TD Embrace, but with this Rift, if they're able to use it to pick up some plates for their carries, even possibly top, because you have the power to kill Steel Fan. If you do that, you could just take that whole entire thing and just kill the turret.
Yeah, it would be really useful to get that early gold onto that Mordekaiser, right? It would accelerate him even more than it already does, and it makes it a lot harder for Shine to play it without the luxury of that top turret. Frizzle is right now very going in on this fight. There is no Hecarim there to back him up, though. Even if he does find the kill, he could try to take some plating. What I do want to see desperately this game, though, is that Herald actually used take plating. Last time they held it for too long, and ended up just throwing it away in a mid play that didn't really work.
Yeah, but that's all basically set up that needs to be done from the laners of TPO goats. They can't just like keep getting shoved in and not creating an avenue for these ganks to happen. We see the bot lane, look how lit up it is for TD Embrace. It's very hard to actually get into that bot lane without being seen. You'd pretty much have to take the blast cone over, and there's no blast cone. But since you're Hecarim, you can just run in there from lane and look for Onslaught of Shadows.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised we haven't really seen him put too much pressure on the
Uh-oh,
bot side, but he is looking for it here. The devastating charge is coming in, but Nightmare Hall, therefore, first, the twisted advance into the Nature's Grasp, going to instantly take down the Senna and force Hecarim to rethink about what he was going to do there. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Dark Holio trying to get a little bit of revenge. That Soul Shackles, is he going to find the kill onto Zing?
Oh, so close!
No! A flash away. Wait!
Oh,
Oh my god! Dawning Shadow finds it!
Oh, just using the Megan for bomb just to try to push the wave, just spell their own death as Ghost TP finds the kill after dying in bot lane for the second time.
And the best part is that might have been playable if Senna was still alive and was shooting at an angle, because they were just sent right back to base, able to send it fully down mid lane, nowhere Rendell could go.
Yeah, just to make a note is, in the first game, we saw Rendleman have a significant lead over Daolo in the middle lane. But now, about 30 CS up for this Morgana, and Ziggs isn't known to be like a poor CSer at all. He's still 93 in about 12 minutes and 40 seconds, but we're seeing the Morgana have almost perfect CS.
And a devastating smash from Steelfan. Here comes the devastating charge from Caxi. Caxi throwing him back. Crizzle, this time holding the Death's Grasp. Is it going to come out here to big effect? Nightmare Hall here. Death's Grasp comes up. Onslaught of Shadows. Steelfan flashing away. Is able to survive it as Nightmare Hall comes in with a twisted advance. He stops Crizzle from doing any sort of tower diving. And all the abilities, all the ultimates, all of the ghost is burned. All for naught. As nobody's slaying in this top lane.
Yeah.
But Herald's getting used.
Good timing by Nightmare Hall, but now the Herald was going to be dropped anyway, and we're going to see a little bit more plates taken, a little bit more gold going over to Crizzle. So, you're taking so much damage.
Shots. Is it going to be too late to flash away? But the Bramble Smash sending him back. Steelfan, though, too focused on that Herald. The Nature's Grasp still going to knock him up. And Hecarim tries to come back in, but it's too late. The devastating charge finds Mordekaiser. He does clean up the Nightmare Hall kill. Can he clean up Steelfan as well? He's not going to commit to it. And that's a huge shutdown if you're Sion.
Yeah, you still got the 1-for-1. And, now Caxi's now on the board. But it was super close as, Crizzle almost took down Nightmare Hall in the Realm of Shadows. And if that happened, that would have been very, very bad, as Steelfan would have been just basically sitting duck for a tower dive.
Yeah, it could have been a real difficult situation. I think Nightmare Hall was in a great place, a great time there. And I feel like Nightmare Hall has really improved this game. They did a lot last game for sure. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, Downfall is looking for an engage here,
Lightning Crash used, but just getting absolutely shredded. Super Mega Death Rocket used, not going to find anything. And now it's a 4v2 for the Ghost. A devastating charge in onto this area. There comes the Dawning Shadow. Got him kind of caught in a rock and a hard spot. Going to go down by Dat Holio. Not necessarily the person you want to get the kill, but a kill nonetheless onto your side. TP burnt as well from Steelfan to try to clean up the play. Stop them from tower diving the poor little Jinx as Dragon spawns here in 15 seconds.
Yeah, and That was quick. Caxi was top lane 1 second, was bot to the other second. But good roam by that holo in the middle lane was able to help secure the kill. Actually got the kill for themselves, but we saw what was happening in the bot lane. It was struggling quite a bit, but just using that just to pick up some gold for yourself will actually vault your team up to about a 1.3k gold lead.
I have to say though, I think the TP was a little bit of a mistake from Sion. It
Yeah,
costed them that top turret. A
yeah.
big reason for that 1.3k gold lead. The thing with this dragon fight though is a lot of the gold right now is on Krizzle, and if Krizzle doesn't rotate to this dragon, he's currently walking over. I think he needs to be there if they're fighting this dragon.
Yeah, and I mean, you already have the TP as well, so we know that Steelfan does not after that TP to try to save what was happening bot lane, but so theoretically, Crystal could have stayed top and looked just to keep pushing, try to force Scion or someone to match him, and then TP just to create a little of an odd man fight if anything happened.
Yeah, I think that might have been the best case scenario for them. But right now, Steelfan might be caught in a rough spot. A great dark bind from that Holio. Fight breaking out. Steelfan losing a lot of their HP, but Dragon was on the whole time from Embrace as they claimed their second dragon, and it's an Inferno Soul that blazes this rift. One of the greatest souls in League of Legends.
Yeah, so in that fight, oh, Spearless is actually taken to Shadow Realm.
Can Spiritless do anything? It doesn't look like it as they go down instantly, and Krizzle's gonna try to walk out. Was it too much for him though? It very well might have been. He's going after Steelfan. He's not gonna find it as Rendell gets the kill. Ooh. But Nightmare Hall goes down from that holo. The fight still raging on as they look for Steelfan. It doesn't look like they're gonna find a whole lot, but the gold lead still on an advantage favor for the Goats.
Yeah, and that was all Krizzle right there, is making the plays. Yes, they die in the process, but they're able to take down Spearless and Nightmare Hall in the process. So that was very well played. We can see how big of an impact this Mordekaiser is having in this game too.
Yeah, the Mordekaiser doing a lot, but that play did end up working out. It almost didn't though. It was almost just a one-for-one trade. Rift Herald though gonna be taken off of that. It is the second Rift Herald for this team. A devastating charge under tower by Caxi, going to not find a whole lot off of it though. Kind of a weird way to use Ghost.
Yeah, they just kind of wanted to try to get the pick off on Rendleman, especially because they have that the Rift Herald, the second Rift Herald. Try to break this mid turret open, kind of open up the map a little bit more, try to get more deeper wards, and use these kind of champions, especially the Morgana, to get these picks without the other team knowing.
Morgana
until they die.
Deep into the red side of Embrace. Not gonna really do a whole lot. I think they're just looking to get some wards down. It feels like for the most part, the ward control, the vision control of this game has been heavily dictated by Embrace. I feel like they've been the team that have been spotting out Caxi on everything he wants to do, spotting out all the roams that are happening. And it feels like the vision control from Embrace has been heavily in their favor, and I wonder if that's going to change now that there's a little bit of a gold lead for the Goats.
Yeah, and right now, that Steelfan is so tanky already, and if Krizzle wants to actually contest Steelfan for like any fights, try to 1v1 before the entire TD Embrace Goon Squad shows up. The Demonic needs to be there, but obviously I think that Krizzle is going to opt to go for that Rallies, as it'll be much more beneficial to kill Rendleman or Spearless if they're taken to the Death Realm.
Yeah, and I think that's completely true. I think the slow from Rylai's too is just beneficial in team fights as well.
Yep.
Being able to slow so many enemies for your teammates to stay in bounds with them can be great, especially if you're looking for just that one pick to get Jinx excited.
I do expect the Demonic Embrace to show up eventually, but I don't think right now. I think it's going to be a third item.
He feels healthy enough right now that he doesn't necessarily need it, especially with the shield Mordekaiser gets. It can help be so forgiving that being able to wait to pick up a Demonic is oftentimes more useful than waiting to pick up the Rylai's. The Rylai's do so much extra damage, provides so much utility for that champion.
Yeah, Steelfan is actually winning out on these fights, which is until it gets a little bit become of a skirmish. So in extended fights, obviously with the Conqueror, Mordekaiser will take the advantage. But just the blow from Heartsteel proc does so much damage, probably like 1/10 of Krizzle's health.
Right now, it's still a 2 grand gold lead for Goats. As that Baron spawning, as that next Inferno Drake spawning in a minute. The thing, though, if Embrace can pick up this Inferno Drake, A win con is 5 minutes away. That Inferno Soul, even though there's about a 2 grand gold gap, you have to imagine the stats they're getting off the Mountain and Cloud Drake have to even that up somewhat.
Yeah, and you know, Shirley is dropped in the bot lane. It was about the timeout, so we have to go back to the first game where you mentioned how that Rift was basically just thrown down and wasn't able to use it very well. The second Rift, same scenario with that.
Yeah, and that's something that if we go to a game 3, willing to be cleaned up. But once again, we're seeing this Baron trade. We've seen this before. The only difference is the Rift Herald placed on the bottom of the map.
Oh wait, Death Bush?
Oh, is this a different? Is this actually the bait they've been looking for? It looks like it could be. Nightmare Hall walks right in. Nightmare Hall walking right out to the gray screen. That's no jungler left standing.
They're starting the Baron, but they don't have Mordekaiser just yet. Crystal should just TP there just to make sure that he's there for the impending team fight, because you know, oh my god, that's a lot of damage.
The damage. Can they still do this? Is this a mistake? Are they griefing? Oh my god, there goes Ghost TP. It looks like that fight's all coming down. That Holo now caught, and they're forced to run away. However, a big split push on the spot lane. They do get some towers, but it just feels like that was so heavily misplayed. They were all grouped in that Inferno Bomb, all the health lost, and now that Dragon could easily be TD Embraces.
I mean, you get the pick. You're a very strong Mordekaiser. You could just go show your face up there. You could just 1v4, hold off the entire TD Embrace squad. But instead, they were able to walk up, get a kill, stop this Baron play, and you can't even kill the Sion because Sion's just too tanky. So you just need to use your TP in a manner that even Steelfan didn't have TP. So it was going to be a 5v3 on that Baron.
And I feel like that Herald might have been the bait for their own team. Now, this is a hell of a TP as Rendell's joining that Dragon fight. Can they claim this Dragon? There's no Morgana there. She's not even TPing in. And it's just claimed for free. It's an absolutely free soul point Dragon. One more Inferno Drake for TD Embrace, and they're going to have that massive burst damage that Inferno Dragon Soul provides. That's so good on Ziggs. That's so good on Jinx.
Yeah, but you know, obviously they didn't have any vision control for TP Goats in that Dragon Pit. They kind of invested in this top side of the map. And when Morgana went down, it just made it too hard to actually go in and try to claim back vision in this Dragon. One more Dragon, like you said, would be the Dragon Soul. And if Ziggs gets it, I'd be very, very scared to be a squishy on the enemy team.
I mean, we already see what Inferno Bomb did. While they, of course, they did have a little bit of the Baron debuff going on, but it chunked that Senna from full health to less than a third of what was left standing, right? On top of that, the Leandri's ticks doing all that damage as well. You might as well just call this Ziggs like a level 16 Karthus if he gets that Inferno Soul. He's going to be that boss, and he doesn't need 7 kills to do it.
Yeah, actually, looks like Crizzle did pick up the Demonic second. It's doing a ton of damage to Steelfan.
Oh, wow. The Death Realm coming out. Steelfan could go down. The Decimate's doing a ton of damage. He's going to try to run away, but a Flash Decimate makes sure Steelfan is down for the count. He's seeing the light. It's been a 3 count. Your new champion is Crizzle Blizzle, as that's his 4th kill of the match and Sion's 3rd death. Yeah,
but at what cost? Yes, you're split pushing. You're going to get this outer tier 2, but right now, it feels like the rest of the team is just, like, bleeding out. And you need to do something to help your team. Right now, Ghost TP just took almost their entire health forward with that Mega Dip.
They live. They barely live.
Yeah. But right now, mid lane tier 2 will be the play for TD Embrace. But look what's happening in the side lanes.
Yeah, it is 2 side lane split pushes from Goats. Is that the optimal play? I think it really depends. If this T2 turret falls, I think so. But I'm not convinced that this turret's going to fall.
Yeah, I don't think it will.
That Holio agrees with us as they're going to walk away. Sion's going to get there. Baron's still up, though. It does feel like a lot of map pressure in those side lanes is on the side of the Goats, but losing that mid lane again, having that mid lane completely 100 to almost 0, once again, like we seen in the last game, does hurt. Because that mid lane also controls both the objectives, right? A side lane only does so much if that mid lane state is even. And when you have, sure, a long lane in that bot lane, a little bit of an advantage in that top lane, to have no towers in that mid lane to play around still makes taking these fights difficult.
Ghost TP is was almost caught right there, especially because they have basically 0 health. You know how much damage that Heart Seal is going to do.
They were looking to go on Milio there. Didn't find it, of course. They're looking to still steal that blue buff. Are they going to be able to? Yeah, it goes to Caxi. Taxi with a big claim. It's like the smallest objective you can steal, but nonetheless, still an objective steal. They're still maintaining a bit of a gold lead, but I don't think that gold lead is real, to be honest. What I mean by that is, sure, components-wise, yes, but when you factor in the stats of the Dragons, the large percentage of extra AP and AD damage, the large amount of armor and magic resistance scaling, I don't think that the gold gap really exists between these two teams.
I think the big play is, if you're TPO Ghosts, you need to make sure you basically have all your members, especially your strongest members in these fights. They can't be split up to the point where it's like, okay, my tank Scion is taking on probably the only major threat so far. Right now, later in the game, it will change. In a side lane. Yes, now we can take a fight. There's no one else to actually force us off from coming into the Baron pit, coming to the Dragon pit. Because what other tank do you have in your team? You have a Zeri, a Morgana, a Hecarim, and a Senna. There's no tank that could actually just like force everyone out of the pit.
Yeah, I think that is a valid statement to make, but that might be a more valid statement when it comes to this Dragon sub in 45 seconds. We are 45 seconds away from what could be Embrace's soul. What do you think Goats needs to do to prevent this play from being a losing one?
For a losing one?
What do you think they need to do to like get that Dragon?
Oh, whoa! Look what we have here.
Not this. This is not the play. I can tell you wholeheartedly that doing Baron on a ward might not be what you want to do. 26 Dragon.
It is a quick peel off for this, and it does give Crystal a lot of time to keep knocking on the door of their bot lane inhibitor tower. Holy moly!
Can they find it? Oh my god, got him chunked from 100 to almost 0, and that opens up them to be able to rotate to this Dragon pit. This could have been the master plan all along. They knew Milio would want that ward. They knew they could attack the Baron to get him to be a 5v4 for them, right? But however, still first at the Dragon pit is that Maokai.
Yeah, and we're gonna just see a fight, like just kind of trade in the bot side. Dragon is up. And you know what this means? This needs to go TPO Ghosts if they win a chance. Otherwise, we're going to see a lot of poke coming out from Rendleman right now.
Here it goes. The twisted advance is going in. And the Nature's Grasp rooting 2 of them. Downfall does use...
Oh, it's stolen!
They got the soul! They got the soul of a steal! And they're winning the fight to go along with it. Downfall about to go out. Morgana picked off. Grizzle in a horrible spot right now as he's trying to run down Nightmare Hall. But Spirit in the backline destroying Ghost PTP. Destroying Downfall, and now Crizzle goes down as well. His first time talking about a team fight results in a shutdown for Ziggs, and that's so huge for Embrace, potentially making playoffs here.
Yeah, they get the soul. Now their eyes are set on Baron. It feels like nothing could stop him. They're ready to take that fight. While it looks like TPO Ghost was just waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, it has been a turn in a big way. The gold gap completely closed. And with that extra, I believe, 18% attack damage and ability power. On top of that, the soul, the Inferno soul being planted on your team. How do you fight Embrace anymore? Is there a shot left for a Ghost? They're going to look for the steal on Baron. They do.
Oh, they kind of peeled off.
They found the Baron steal, but does that mean anything after you lose soul? They have a little bit of a chance to claim some map pressure before that Elder Drake spawns, but they need to use it so wisely, and a minute of it is wasted with Caxi being dead.
Yeah, I mean, they were able to secure it. That takes a major objective off the board. It does cut down on the kind of push that they have on this TD Embrace team, especially with that Ziggs. You can take towers. One big team fight would just end the game right there. But it's still, on paper, a 1K gold lead for TPO Goats, but with the soul, that's pretty much a 9K deficit for TPO Goats at the same time.
They have Baron right now, though. They need to use this perfectly to keep their split alive, and you know they want to. They have been fighting like hell this game to bring it to Embrace, to knock Embrace from getting the playoffs, and to end the losing streak, but it's not looking favorable. They're definitely the underdogs to try to close out this game, but the question is, can they? On the bright side, they do have a setup. It's a 30-minute game. They have a setup. If they can control Baron, control the lanes with this Baron, and wait till Elder comes up, it is a 50-50 shot for them. Whatever team can claim that Elder's going to win this game. It's just, can they do it?
So far, Ghost Team. Oh, we have a
Oh
fight.
my god, Onslaught of Shadows, followed by the Dawning Shadow, and that's a big shutdown on a Caxi. But Caxi going to go down right after by Nightmare Hall in the bot lane. We have Crystal and Steelfan fighting it up. There is blood across this rift. There is war across this rift. Steelfan has him inside that pit, inside the Death Realm. Can he find the kill? He's blocking him from being able to charge out, making sure he can't get to that tower. He blocks the charge. He uses the Death's Grasp, and it looks
he's gonna
like
go down here.
is going to go down. Here comes Nightmare Hall. Nightmare Hall looking for a little bit of revenge. Isn't gonna go in for it though.
He can't take it.
He can't handle the heat. He has left the kitchen.
But that opens up quite a bit. Mid lane, outer turret taken. Top lane, tier 2 taken. Bot lane under siege. And that is how TPO Ghost is staying in this game. They were able to get the pick on mid lane. And yeah, they were able to. Wait, was it? Or was it Amelia?
It was the Jinx. It was the Jinx.
It was Jinx. Yeah, they were able getting that pick was huge because that allows everyone in the side wave to keep pushing and try to curate more pressure.
And with that map pressure, it is hard on the side of them. They've knocked out every single T2. Every lane is even or in an advantage state for Goat. They now have a 3k gold advantage. That could be enough to close the Inferno Soul gap between these two teams. 2 minutes till Elder. This dragon means everything for a potential Game 3. It means everything for Embrace being able to close their spot in the playoffs. This Elder Drake means everything for the end of this gold season in Blue Otter League right now. It could be a miracle for Goats, or it could be the door closing on their splits.
Yeah, and right now, the big target, that's Ziggs. Rendleman 5-1. We saw how much damage they could do if their Mega Inferno Bomb lands. If their poke lands, but on the flip side, they are super squishy. They do have the Seraph's Embrace to have that lifeline passive just to keep them a little bit more healthy in case they get jumped on by Caxi or, you know, just Morgana bound or something of that nature. But unfortunately, if they go down, it feels very, very hard to fight these fights. You're going to have to rely on Spiritless to be your damage dealer.
Now I need to ask, how close is Morgana to getting that Rabadons? We are about to be going to this Elder Fight in a minute. Can we just see how close Morgana is to finishing
700
off?
gold.
They're 700 gold
700.
away?
Yep.
Oh, they're not going to find it before that. That means they're going in without that Rabadons, unless they can find a kill.
Wait, we might see a death bush here. Let's see if that happens.
Teams hovering. Still a split push from Crizzle. Both tops have TP. Both mids TP. It's 4 members rotated over to that pit right now for both these teams. Morgana a little bit further down though.
Yeah,
Ziggs
but
and more to that top lane.
if you have Ziggs, you know, trying to match the Mordekaiser, you're not going to have that poke that you really desperately need if this fight starts or the dragon started. It has to be Steelfan, in my opinion, to make sure that Crizzle can't take this inhibitor.
On the same token though, you have the 2 strongest members of each team in that top lane. This makes for a very interesting fight across this river. Who's going to TP first? You know Crizzle has the advantage. He gets to choose when he wants to TP. He's the one pushing in. Ziggs kind of has to stay there. Because the second he TPs, they need to take the fight at risk of that top lane being pushed if Crizzle isn't already over there.
Yeah, it looks like Rendleman is now being called over to this pit. And the TP is actually going to be used by Crizzle, just so we're going to have a straight 5v5 team fight from the start.
This Elder going, if Embrace can win this fight, they win the game probably, and they go to playoffs. If they lose, we go to a Game 3 and see if they can still make it. Caxi engaging in Onslaught of Shadows, doesn't find anybody to delete him. He's gone.
Caxi
Downfall goes down. Jinx, huge rocket. Ghost TV and Dot Holio trying to run away. Crizzle trying to keep them off the back line, but they're not doing enough damage. Steelfall really making an impact node. Crizzle going golden, but that's the last time he's going to be able to do this game because he is dead. He is gone, and they don't even need the Elder. They're going to opt to run down this mid and try to end the game. There's a 30-second timer on Kaki. There's a 27-second timer on Downfall. A 50-second timer on Crizzle. They don't think they can end now. They're just changing. They're hovering. They are nervous. They don't know if they're making the right play, and they're going to go back to this Elder.
Yeah, they saw the dead timers. It's not that long, so they're just going to opt for the safe play. But right there, we saw exactly what we saw in game 1. It was kind of a desperation engage, but Caxi is not strong enough. He's a straight lethality horse, and unfortunately, when he went in, he just died immediately after. And then there's not a lot of damage to actually help out and win the fight. It kind of gave TD Embrace the front-to-back team fight they were looking for.
They're going straight for this Baron here. They do have some champions that are a little bit low on HP. Spiritless at half health Is this the correct play? They do have, of course, they do have that Elder. It is a strong buff. Would it have been smarter to back and then go for it? It might not be the case.
No, they have Elder.
Kaki doesn't
Oh!
Kaki going to die, and that might be all she wrote. It is a mid lane push away from claiming playoffs for TD Embrace. As long as they don't run it into the fountain, this should be it. This should be them claiming the last playoff spot in their group.
Yeah, that was a quick Baron attempt to steal, but like I said, it took only a couple shots, and Taxi's now back on the gray screen as they will be dead. Now we have a Baroned up, Eldered up, TD Embrace marching through mid lane, just trying to secure this win. And the big thing is, Clown Gaming, they are 1-1. They're in game 3. So if Clown Gaming lose, TD Embrace wins this game, we're gonna see TD Embrace next week.
And that series, also a very important one for TD making it. But this game, if they can close it out, they have their best shot. They have their only shot at making it. Right now, they're looking for that mid turret. They have the Baron buff. They only have one cannon minion at the moment. That
oh my god, Ghost TP just got absolutely murdered by one.
Ghost TP making like their name. They're a ghost.
Yeah.
They're going in. They're looking for that mid turret. They are going to find it. It's a 4v5. They have Elder. They have Baron. Is this the last stand for TPO Ghost? It very well might be. Downfall looking for an angle to clutch. Of course, Drizzle looking to do some damage, but oh my god, every bit of damage he does, it just takes twice as much. Here comes the Onslaught of the Shadows from Kaki, but Kaki going to get relatively deleted. Steel Fan does go down, but Spiritless finds Kaki. Ziggs finds Downfall, and that is going to be all she wrote as GOAT series comes to an end in this game 2. An 0-7 losing streak for them, but Embrace, the best chance they have for playoffs. Now it all comes down to Clown Gaming series. If they lose, Embrace makes it. If Clown Gaming can find that game 3 victory in the other series, it will
quadra kill secured by Spiritless. Great games. It was close games, and that was just making of a team that didn't look like they were 0-6, but minor mistakes here and there cost them. But overall, it looks like TD Embrace just looked like a little bit more cohesive. They were having better decisions overall and as a team, and eventually they found themselves killing the Nexus and hoping that they make it to the playoffs next week.
Yeah, and there were just so many great plays that happened in this game, especially objective steals from both the junglers here. Caxi, of course, stole a Baron that kept them alive in this game. Nightmare Hall stole that definitive Soul Drake to put them back in the game, close that gold gap, and allow them to get so far ahead. This game was bloody. It was all over the place. So much happened between both of these teams, and if Embrace can make playoffs, they'll bring an interesting style to it. However, they have to be holding their breaths for that game 3 between Clown Gaming and what's the team they're facing right now?
In RAR.
Clown Gaming versus RAR. That is the last series. You guys are going to have to stay tuned in the BOL Discord for that. But as for here, I got to ask you, Bully, who is your MVP of the series?
Oh, it's hard to say, but I think overall it does go over to Spiritless.
I think that's a valid player. They played amazingly both games. The Jinx felt very strong. The Samira had so many good Inferno triggers, especially to a hard game to play for them. Especially being against that Maokai, who's able to send them out, against that Fed Darius, who was able to get them down with the Noxian Guillotine, or being able to just pull them from quite a bit away to stop the Inferno trigger. I think Spiritless played about as well as they could have tonight, especially in that last game. 27,000 damage, 10 kills, 2 deaths, and outstanding by both them and their support as well. Got him, did quite a bit. But I think that's going to be all she wrote here. I don't believe we're doing interviews tonight. So that is going to be all she wrote for the Gold regular season. Stay tuned, of course, in the BOL announcements to find what the playoff bracket is going to be looking like, what teams made it, what team didn't, and we'll be back soon for the Gold playoffs in Blue Otter League. I was your play-by-play, T.I. Romeo. With me, of course, the wonderful Bully and the amazing Matt as producer. Stay tuned for Blue Otter League next week. Tomorrow, I believe, it's IBS. And then, of course, next week, once again, as we run it back in the playoff season. Thank you so much for tuning in. And this is BOL signing off.